brush with greatness. That's always a cool topic. All right, listen, I was really fortunate. Early on in my career, I was a music editor for a music publisher. Basically, one of the aspects of my job was a song would come out, we'd go buy the CD, take the CD, and we're gonna make the transcriptions. So I worked on the transcription books, and there's also what we call PVG arrangements, piano, vocal, guitar. That's the sheet music that you would buy. But one of the important things was to create the lead sheet. And that lead sheet was basically just the chord symbols, the melody written out in music notation, and the lyrics underneath that. And that had to be very accurate. And that's what went to the Library of Congress in order to get registered for copyright license. And what we did as a music publisher was we administered those licenses. So if there was an artist, they had their record deal, that was a whole separate thing. But their publishing was something different. So you have some artists that have moved from label to label to label. Generally, their music publishing would stay with one publishing house. And that's what we did. So the artist would record something, and if we didn't have access to it beforehand, we would take that recording, and from that recording, create all of these different arrangements that were used for commercial sheet music, for transcriptions, arrangements for high school bands and college bands, big bands, and all this other stuff. Now, because we did this and we were in New York City, a lot of the artists would come up to the office and visit. And this one particular day, it was getting late, it was cold, so it was probably around December. I loved my job, so I had no problem staying late. This one particular night, I noticed my boss was still hanging around, and I also noticed that some of the front office guys were sticking around, which they did from time to time. But what I didn't know, when I heard the hustle and bustle as they were coming towards my area, is I had my back to the door, and I sat at my desk with the computer. I had a guitar next to me. I also had a keyboard. So I would set up this workstation as I was working. And I remember that I was working on some arrangement. I'm not sure. We had the big score paper, pencils out, erasers, and all of this stuff. And I was working on that stuff. And I hear them coming. And then I hear, oh, guitars, keyboards, computers. Oh, this is where the magic happens. And I turn around and I look and I recognize the jazz artist. And I said to him, I know you, I know who you are, as they're getting ready to introduce me. So I just interrupted them and just said, I know who you are. And I put my hand out. He takes my hand, he shakes my hand, and he goes, I know who I am too, but I don't know who you are. You know, got some laughs and stuff. And then I introduced myself, and now he's got his glasses on. He's got that, the shaggy hair. He's got a cup of coffee in his left hand. And he's wearing a pea coat and a scarf. He walks up to the keyboard's plugged in, and he just whips out this magical little riff. And I looked at him and I said, oh, hang on a second. I grabbed my acoustic guitar, which was this 1950s Gibson nylon string. It was a folk guitar that, it was my boss's knockaround guitar. It's a gorgeous guitar. Beat up, it showed its years. But I picked it up and I looked at him and I said, A minor. I start playing an A minor chord, and he starts playing this most dazzling thing. We stop, we look at each other. I put the guitar down and I put my hands up as though I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I just played with Chick Corea.